have with us today?
My name is Stephanie, and I have struggled with ADD symptoms pretty much my whole life. It's really all I've ever known. My symptoms primarily consisted of me having an inability to maintain focus, and not really in the sense of, me needing to go from one task to another because I got bored. It was more like I would miss bits and pieces, and I would kind of like spot out from time to time, you could say.
Can you give us like an example?
Yeah, absolutely. If someone's telling me a whole bunch of things at once, I know that I'm going to miss a couple things. Like most times I'm going to end up missing at least little bits and pieces. So I always have to try really hard to focus, and then usually make sure that kind of check to make sure I didn't miss anything. It was just a normal part of my daily life.
So what is it like to, can you, when you were having problems with that, could you have listening to someone and write something at the same time? Was that trouble?
No, that was another big issue for me, was multitasking. It was pretty much not an option for me. Whenever I tried to write things down, talk at the same time, or write things down and listen at the same time, I would end up screwing one of the two up. I also would go into an autopilot or zoning out mode very easily. Autopilot meaning I could be doing one thing and my mind was accidentally completely elsewhere, or zoning out where I just accidentally slip into a daydream without even realizing it, and I'm missing information that's coming at me, whether it be if I'm talking to someone or if I'm supposed to be doing something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things were you trying to do to get help for those types of inattentive issues?
Medications, which were extremely effective for me. I've been prescribed pretty much every ADD medication under the sun, and while some of them were extremely effective for me, they all came with adverse side effects, including nasty energy crashes at the end of the day, and as the medication wore off, just my mood would plummet, my irritability would go sky high, and I didn't like feeling like a pill was dictating my energy and my moods.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say that your life was impacted on, besides work? Is there other things that would happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, simply things like talking to my husband, I would miss part of what he's saying, and I'm so sorry, I accidentally zoned out, I wasn't listening to you, but it's not because I don't care, which is really hard for people to understand that don't have ADD. They think you're not listening because you don't care, but it's truly it's accidental. You can't control it all the time, even though no matter how hard you try.
So that could create a little bit of friction here and there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So then how did you learn about our office and what we do?
I learned actually about you guys when I was driving by, and I saw that there was a nutritional chiropractic or a nutritionist chiropractic, and I was like, what is that? And I didn't even realize that and then I looked it up online, and I saw that Dr. Karl treats a whole bunch of different neurological disorders, and I was very excited to see that there were testimonials and things like that for treating ADD, because as far as I had known, this was only something that could be managed with medications, and I had kissed the thought of even getting rid of my ADD completely goodbye. I never thought that was an option.
So we did an exam. We found out some areas of trouble.
Yes.
Did a brain map,
Mm-hmm.
and then we found out, oh yes, we have some abnormal brainwave activity.
Mm-hmm.
So we engaged in brainwave neurofeedback, which is right,
Mm-hmm.
EEG biofeedback, also
Yep.
known as neurofeedback, neurotherapy, brainwave biofeedback, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, you didn't notice much.
Right. At first, well, it's as I progressed into the treatment, that's when I really started to notice the changes, which is what I was told ahead of time as well. And then the changes started happening, where all of a sudden I was at work and I noticed I'm multitasking effortlessly. And the first couple times that happened, those were really big moments for me. I was writing things, doing my assessments at work. I was writing things down and listening at the same time, and completely doing both efficiently. And that's never been something that I can easily do, let alone correctly do it. And then I also noticed that I wasn't zoning out or going into my autopilot modes anymore. I was just present all the time, which sounds silly, but that in itself has been a very big gift for me. I haven't lived a life like that.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that I don't blank out on words anymore. I used to constantly whatchamacallit or thingamajig, those were normal words that I would use because it took too much energy for me and time to think of the right words, so those were just my replacement words. Now I don't notice that happening nearly as often. only when I'm really tired, which I think is normal.
Yep.
And let's see, I also, oh, yeah. Do you wanna
No,
say
that's
something?
fine. I was going to say that we, besides neurofeedback, we did some things with nutrition.
Yes.
What did we
yes.
find out?
Well, I noticed that my energy levels went up from that, and I didn't have any big aches and pains before, but all of my aches and pains that I did have, like pretty consistently in my knees and my legs and things like that, completely gone as I progressed in that
So you just
treatment.
thought that was like normal living.
Yeah.
I'm just getting older. It's just
Exactly.
everybody complains of the same thing.
And other people have really big, severe chronic pain. So I'm lucky to only have, a level 1 or 2 or 3 of pain. That's no big deal. I shouldn't even worry about it. But now I know it's an option to actually not have any aches and pains, just based
Right.
on my diet and the inflammation that my diet can cause.
So did you have an interesting experience when you included certain things that we found that you shouldn't have in your diet? Did it create a problem for you recently?
Yes, it did. So gluten, I found out that I'm extremely gluten intolerant. And when I decided to have some pancakes, and I thought those would just be some innocent pancakes, they had wheat in them, which contains gluten, and my symptoms skyrocketed again. And I had no idea that gluten could possibly impact my brain function to that level. It was very, very severe.
Yeah, and then you noticed a difference during a neurofeedback session, because when you start neurofeedback, part of what you do is any kind of biofeedback, you're taking something you can't feel, in this case brain waves, and making you aware of them. In this case, we're watching a movie. The movie plays normally when your brain waves are doing what they're supposed to, but when they're out of the normal mode that we're trying to get them toward, then the movie will pause or dim, and the sound in your headphones will diminish. And so you were noticing that as time went on with your sessions, that was getting more consistent with the movie playing more normal. And then one time, after you had the gluten, you said, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the TV was constantly dimming down, the volume was constantly going quiet, and I was like trying to focus so hard on watching, like maybe if I just focus a little bit harder, like it'll stop dimming and the volume will stop going down. And it wouldn't stop, it was just going the whole time. And my brain waves I saw were they weren't the way they were supposed to be based on what Dr. Karl had showed me before.
Right. So then once you emailed me and said, hey, what's going on? What happened with my session? And then you had already said that you had eaten gluten, and so I showed you some research about how there's a connection between brain inflammation, and that's likely what happened because your slow wave activity went way up.
Exactly.
And so, any other interesting aha moments other than the cool multitasking thing that you've noticed?
Well, I've noticed a very big difference in my increased ability to organize my thoughts and effectively articulate myself. Before, I had the knowledge in there, but organizing my thoughts and being able to communicate them effectively was a little bit of a struggle for me at times, especially without medications. But now it's much more easy for me. I've noticed a big difference with that.
Superb. So, what would you say to some other folks that maybe are struggling, they don't know that there's any other way besides medication?
I would highly recommend coming to Dr. Karl's office and giving neurofeedback and the nutrition program a try, because it's been life-changing for me. I almost on a daily basis will just think about how everything is so different now and how I'm able to think so much more clearly, and I get teared up. It's embarrassing to say, but I get teared up because I'm just so grateful for my newfound concentration and ability to focus. So I highly recommend anyone that is struggling with ADD, ADHD symptoms to come and give Dr. Karl a try.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that, because, there's a lot of people that think it's only for kids or adults can't benefit, but absolutely, you've had problems for a long, long time, and you've been on medications for a long, long time. And that makes a really good point, too, by the way, is that when your brain starts working better, the side effects of the medication can increase, and that's when it's time to
start going down,
diminish them. And then of course we send you to your doctor to make sure they do that with you, since that's not our place to change medications.
Right, of course.
But anything else you'd like to share?
No, just one last big thank you to Dr. Karl and your team. I am forever grateful for everything you've done for me.
Well, thanks. We really appreciate hearing it, and I know this will help a lot of people.